Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. JR has joined me for another installment. So we were talking about what happens, when you finally have enough, you leave. My kids were all adults. It wasn't that long ago.
I'm still a kid. I'm still growing up.
Yes, I know. We were talking about how it wasn't easy, how we all had something to deal with and had all kinds of feelings and things. And I think it's fair to say, because it wasn't all, super duper easy. I think it's really fair to say that everything, we all sort of fell apart, like literally and figuratively, as a family unit, because we were not together as a family anymore. So we all sort of fell apart. And after we all went and did our thing and started our healing processes, we all came back together. Well, some of us, but we all got it back together in one way, shape, or form, and found a new level of happiness because we weren't being exposed to that abusiveness and that toxic environment anymore. I started seeing a therapist right away, and you did too. Did you not? That helped you.
It did. That kind of was a hard thing to do, though. Going to see someone and, hey, here are my problems. Help me deal with them. That wasn't an easy thing to do, especially when it was something I tried to keep to myself. Not that it was something that I was ashamed of or embarrassed of. People's parents, they split all the time. People deal with stuff all the time. But it was just one of those things where you're just you're reaching whatever straws you can reach at to try to take care of yourself. I guess it kind of falls into that realm of you don't know you're drowning until you're actually trying to find something to grab onto to pull you out of the water. One of those, kind of the best way I can describe it. It's if I went and saw somebody, in my brain it would have been like, this is real, this is happening. You can't do that. That's so unhealthy. First of all, it's such an unhealthy thing to do, and it's unfair to do to yourself, and for people that care about you, because it makes it harder. I think the best way to put it is, when you're suffering and you're dealing with something, if you don't find the best way to take care of it or find the best way to try to deal with it, it doesn't just affect you, it affects other people around you as well. That's hard, especially people that care about you, that want to see you do better, that want to see you be okay. You're dragging them through it as well. Inadvertently, even though you don't have them by their collar or their hair, you're still dragging them through it.
They're going through it with you.
That was part of the reason of, I decided to see someone and to try to do something to help myself. It was hard though. It was hard to go, I need help.
I had someone comment, I remember this was way back when, and I don't like to, I know they're not like babies, but I don't like to talk about the kids a whole lot. I don't know if it's just a mom thing or the empath in me that is still protective of them, but people will say things and I'm like, I have something to say about it, but I just feel like it's a little, I feel like I'm exposing a lot. I can sit here and talk about my life till I'm blue in the face, but unless you want to come and share something, I don't know that it's for me to share. But I did have a woman say after one of my videos, she was like, I can't believe your kids don't deal with repressed anger. And I was like, yeah.
I did. And that was part of the reason as to how I knew that I needed help. I let it get to me and I ignored it, and it was affecting my work, my personal life, my relationship. And then one morning on my way into work, I was running late. It already wasn't going good. My head was not in a good place. Everything just kind of hit that boiling point, and I could have done something that would have been awful for myself and for another poor guy at a gas station line.
I remember that.
But it was definitely a moment of shock, and as tense as it was a moment of clarity for me to go, I need help. In that moment, I had a lot of anger, sadness, and regret. I had a lot of regret because I couldn't believe how far I let myself fall before I realized I need to get some help. And it was almost too late for me to get some help that would have been preemptive to getting in serious trouble. Luckily, that didn't happen, but it could have. And since then, I've told all kinds of people, it's like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, you have friends, you have family, you have people you can rely on. There's nothing wrong with seeking, outside help.
Professional.
There's nothing wrong with that. And I recommend it so much. And, it's their job. This is their job. This is, people have passions in their life. Most of these people, they have the passion for wanting to help people, for wanting to learn how to help people, for putting tools in their inventory to help people like this. And I'm very glad, I went through 2 therapists when I was dealing with what I was dealing with. And it wasn't because one was better than the other. It was just, I saw one for a little bit, she was fantastic. And then I moved on to another one, it was a growth thing. You move on from one thing to another, and it did help. It definitely pulled me out of the rut that I was in and got me moving in a pretty decent direction. Still growing, still dealing with it, but you have to be able to look in the mirror and go, this is what needs to do. This is what needs to happen. This is what I need to do. Because the more and more you put that stuff off, the worse it gets. And and I use drowning for a reason. I said drowning for a reason because that's pretty much how I had felt until, the incident had happened. And then it was almost too late. I almost didn't have something to pull me out of the water. And when I say water, I mean county jail. And I'm not saying that just to be funny, but that's exactly where
Right.
it could have put me. Not a bad guy, and I don't go around wanting to hurt people because I'm bored or anything like that, but stress and anxiety and depression, just all these things, they pile and pile and pile and pile, and pretty soon they just, they blow up. And it was definitely something that I wish that I dealt with sooner, to avoid, what had happened. Nothing bad happened, but it's still something I look back on, and it's not one of my prouder moments, but could have been a lot worse.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. That really is a big deal, and I think that men find it harder to seek help in general. Men want to be the fixers. They want to have all of the answers. So for a man to go and seek help and say, hey, I need help. I have this problem is a big deal. And, like he said, he's not a bad guy. No, he's like awesome. And like I say, my dad always used to say about him, if you don't like JR, you don't like anybody. And he was right. And I think that having that personality and being raised by somebody who was so mentally and emotionally abusive, he repressed a lot of things because he is a good person. It's not in his nature to lash out. It's not in his nature to talk back or to be disrespectful. And he just bottled it up, and holy hell, the top popped off. It was bad. It was scary. And he talks about that incident at the gas station, and I remember it like it was yesterday because he sent me a text right after it happened, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is really bad. I don't even remember what my response was at the time.
Well, yes, I was okay at first.
Oh, yeah.
That was the first one, and then you told me to just, stay calm. You told me to go home. I didn't want to go home. I didn't know where else to go. I felt like I didn't have nowhere else to go. But you were supportive. You were texting me to make sure that I was okay. You called me a couple of times and told you what was going on, and stayed in touch and, apologetic. And you don't have anything to apologize for. Life is the way that it is, and we grow when we move past it. It's something I've moved past. There's...
Yeah, when I saw, like I talked about all of us falling apart, and then, some of us, at least, the people that I see that I'm close to, kind of falling back together, I felt responsible for that because I was ultimately, I pulled that last straw by leaving. But I think everybody knew why. I think everybody understood. The fact that John was a factor in there, I think made it confusing for everybody and maybe, ruffled some feathers. But, everybody knew what went on in that house as far as the kids, for 24 years. I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't deal with that anymore. And with my dad being gone and him being the only positive person in my life and him being the only person to recognize my hard work, my efforts, anything that I was doing, he was gone. And so I was just dealing with the mental and emotional abuse. I became my mother's punching bag, and I was like, there's got to be more to life than this. This is crazy. I can't do this for the rest of my life. And that was the straw. And so when that happened, I decided enough was enough, and then everything kind of went to hell for a little bit, and I felt responsible. I felt like I dismantled the family. But, you know, what kind of family is that? You know, it was like, you know, we talk about it, it's like, okay, yeah, we had all of our holidays and stuff together, but, you know, he walked in with his big wet blanket, ruined every single one of them. You know, every holiday, every birthday, you know, bar mitzvahs, baptisms, whatever it was, you know, he came in and shit on them. So, you know, now when we get together, it's all drama free. It's awesome. You know, we have a good time, we eat, we talk, we laugh, and there's no baloney. And it's fantastic. So it was kind of worth, I think, it was kind of worth all of those growing pains and the falling apart for a little bit, so that we could come back and pull ourselves back together and be healthier in the end, and, you know, be who we want to be, and not, you know, always afraid or trying to, you know, fulfill this image that was expected. I don't know. So anyway, we thought that was important to share. I wanted you to hear that from him, and he was gracious enough to share it again. Thank you. Appreciate it. So thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, I don't know if he'll do this again for me, but if you do have any questions, you know, maybe he can answer them. Maybe we can do another video in the future. But don't hesitate, you know, comment, like it, subscribe. I love you a lot for doing this. I really, really do. It means a lot to a lot of people to hear from another voice, the next generation of all that mess. And he's here, and he's handsome, and he's healthy, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. And, you know, we can't be afraid to make decisions to have a better life for fear that we're going to ruin our children, because, you know, staying in an abusive relationship is ruining them as well. So they'll be okay, right?
Yeah.
Right?
It will.
You bounce back, and you get it. It just takes time.
You know, kids may say and do some dumb stuff. I'm proud of myself. I haven't been swearing as much. Kids may say and do some dumb stuff when things happen, but, you know, if you've done a good job, if you got some good kids, if you've, you know, if you feel confident in the way you raise your children, you know, as they get older, as they look back on things, much different. Like, you know, as I said in the previous video, yeah, when it was happening, it sucked and it was hard to deal with, but I look back on it years later, and it's like, it happened, dealt with it, got help, got together, you know, relied on each other, and move forward. So it'll be okay. That's what I'll say right now, is that it will be okay. Don't take whatever your kids say or how they feel or how you think they're feeling. Don't take it so hard. Really don't. Because in the heat of the moment, you know, it's the worst that it probably will ever be. But it gets better.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Ciao for now.